This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. The ship was only 4 or 5 meters long, and Yunxiao knew that it was only a shrunken form. When a mystic artifact reached this level, it could be turned into a mountain or reduced to dust. He stepped in first, Yifan followed behind. As his hands formed seals, Noah's ship turned into a beam of light and left from the end of the ancient evergreen tree, entering the Milky Way. Boom boom boom. When little Qing saw this, it finally retracted its power. The passage opened by the Tree of God suddenly collapsed. Young Emperor Hulian was only halfway there when he saw that the path in front of him had completely disappeared. He grew anxious and pointed out a finger. The power of the stars condensed and transformed into a light armor around him. He was about to charge into the void turbulence. A cloud of inconspicuous gray dust floated over in the void, and his body accidentally came into contact with it. The power of the stars was rapidly corroded, and in an instant there was not much left. Young Emperor Hulian turned pale with fright and hurriedly retreated from the void with a few flashes. At the same time, he condensed his Emperor Qi to shake off the stellar energy around him. The starlight armor that had left his body was quickly corroded into a ball of light before completely disappearing. Cold sweat broke out on young Emperor Hulian's forehead as he watched. The various unknown energies in this universe were too terrifying. He watched helplessly as the small boat sailed away with the wind. The two sides of the boat seemed to be sailing on the surface of water. It drew ripples and spread out to both sides, gradually turning into a small golden dot that was about to disappear into the starry sky. He was extremely anxious and took a deep breath. He condensed a powerful force and shot it out from his mouth, sending a sound wave far away. He only said 4 simple words, "Who are you?" Just when he thought that he would not get a reply and his face was filled with desolation, a melodious bell sound came from an endless distance, bringing with it the chuckling voice of a young man. The green blood and red heart turns into an iron cloak. The plum blossoms at the foot of the high firmament peak are thin. Young Emperor Hulian's body trembled, and 2 streams of tears flowed down uncontrollably. His vision was blurred, and he couldn't see anything clearly. Standing in the sky, he suddenly flung his long robe behind him and knelt down in the air, bowing deeply toward the distant starry sky. His action immediately shocked the people below, especially Tang Jia. His head was buzzing and he could not understand what was going on. He was a martial sovereign of the 9 heavens. Besides heaven and earth, who else could make them kneel? Sheng, on the other hand, was deep in thought. Qing's eyes narrowed slightly as it recalled Yunxiao's words. It seemed to come to a sudden realization, but there was an undisguisable shock in its eyes. The huge trees in the sky lost their profound qi and broke into pieces, falling from the sky. The surrounding trees and leaves also gradually withered at this moment, rapidly shrinking until they withered and died, turning into spring mud. The whole process was very fast. The forest-like tree body collapsed and disappeared, returning to the boundless demon land. The whole scene was very shocking, but during this period of time, everyone had experienced too many shocking things, and those who could survive were already crazy. They watched the Tree of God die without any expression. Boom boom boom. A loud boom came from the distance. A green light flew over at high speed. It was a netherworld warship. In a few moments, it had arrived in front of them. Several figures on the battleship directly soared into the sky and scattered in all directions. "Moo woo, where's Yunxiao?" one of them asked anxiously. These people were the reinforcements sent by the rookie mercenary group. Before entering the 4 Seasons barrier, Mu Wu's strength had been sealed by Li, so it was too dangerous to follow them, so Yunxiao had sent him back to report the situation. Hai Beifei immediately gathered all the experts and rushed over at the fastest speed. However, he did not expect that everything had already ended. Mu Wu's eyes turned cold as he stared at Sheng and the others. "I'll have to ask these demon race people." He paid more attention to Li. The seal in his body had not been broken yet. The feeling of going from a martial honor to someone who could not even trust a chicken was extremely uncomfortable. In an instant, all the members of the newbie mercenary group surrounded the demons and Tang Jia. There were actually 4 martial honors among them. The domains on their bodies were activated, suppressing Sheng and the rest. There was also Tao Can and Qi Guang. They were originally protecting Yifan, but Yifan suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared. They were so frightened that they had to search for him repeatedly before running over. When they saw the newbie mercenary group, they immediately went up to greet them. "Where's Li Yunxiao?" Ding Ling stepped forward and said angrily. Both her and Yunxiang's faces were extremely unsightly. They were the only living people around them, and Yuan Sun, who was not far away, was on the verge of death. There were also some signs of life. Other than that, there were no other survivors. Moreover, the ground was full of scars, clearly left behind by the battle. The damage caused by Hao Wang's punch was especially shocking. Both of their hearts tightened. They gritted their teeth and red lips, and their palms were sweating. A look of panic flashed across Tang Jia's face. He had just broken through to the rank of martial honor and was full of joy. He did not expect to encounter such a powerful enemy. With the current condition of this small demon, he simply did not have the strength to fight with others. "Everyone," he said immediately in a deep voice, "Li Yunxiao has gone to the ancient barons. We are not enemies." "Not an enemy." Mu Wu stared at him coldly, causing Tang Jia's hair to stand on end. He then sneered, "Don't believe him. Capture them all and interrogate them properly. Otherwise, none of them will speak the truth." Tang Jia was anxious. Just as he was about to struggle, a voice suddenly came from the high school. "He's right. Li Yunxiao Master has already gone to the ancient desolate land on the other side of the starry sky." Young Emperor Hao Lian's burly figure descended from the sky. His eyes were slightly red, but he could not hide the joy on his face as he landed on the ground. Guild leader. All the members of the mercenary group were shocked. Then, they looked at young Emperor Hao Lian in shock. The aura that he was currently emitting was completely different from before. They could not fathom it at all. Even his appearance seemed to have become more handsome, making him more masculine. There was only one possibility for this change, and that was that all the members of the rookie mercenary group were overjoyed and excited. Hai Beifei was so excited that he couldn't help but say, "Regimental commander, you're already done, you're really done." Young Emperor Haolian, on the other hand, was much calmer. He only responded softly, then his eyes fell on Dingling and Luo Yunxiang. A hint of surprise flashed through his eyes, and he smiled knowingly. "Where did these 2 girls come from? It seems that you've put in a lot of effort in your work while I was away." Hai Beifei's excited mood immediately turned cold. Seeing the lecherous look on young Emperor Hao Lian's face, he quickly stepped forward and said, "Captain, these 2 are Li Yunxiao's friends, and Li Yunxiao is our friend." You can't be." "Pa." A crisp slap was heard, and everyone was dumbfounded. Their mouths were wide open, big enough to fit a shoe. Young Emperor Haolian slapped his own mouth and strode over to Dingling and Luo Yunxiang. With a nervous look on his face, he cupped his hands respectfully and stammered, "Madam Li, please excuse me. I'm just a person with a cheap mouth. I hope you don't blame me." This time everyone felt dizzy, especially the martial artists of the rookie mercenary group. They all looked at each other and were all dumbfounded. Their leader had always been good at picking up girls. He convinced people with his domineering aura and appearance. If his flirting skills were ranked in the continent, he would definitely be one of the top 10 Casanova titles. None of the women he had his eyes on had ever escaped. Why did she suddenly become like a kitten? Tang Jia and the 2 men from the Hall of Holy Fire were also scared silly. They did not know about Hao Lian Xiaowang's flirting skills. When they saw a martial supreme slap them, their hearts twitched violently on the spot. They felt that what was happening in front of them was very unreal. Dingling and Luo Yunxiang blushed, but they did not blame him. Instead, they looked happy and shy. They were also smart people. From Haolian's words, they could tell that he had learned Yunxiao's identity. "Don't talk nonsense," Luo Yunxiang said. We're just friends with young Master Yun. Did he go to the other side of the starry sky alone? She raised her head and looked up at the sky, revealing a deeply worried expression. Tao Can and Qi Guang also perked up their ears. They were also very worried about Yi Fan's comfort. Yes, I went with a boy who was rowing a boat. Don't worry, young Emperor Hulian said, with that lord's abilities, he won't be in any danger. Luo Yunxiang and Ding Ling's expressions fell into his eyes. With his experience in the field of love, he immediately understood the subtle relationship between the three. Why don't you two ladies stay in my light song forest for a while? That lord will be back soon. He hadn't seen his master for so long, and it was the joy of being resurrected. He immediately decided to please these two masters' wives first. Ding Ling pondered for a moment and said, "That's good too. Let's capture these people first." She pointed at Sheng and the others, and Tang Jie's expression changed immediately. Shang suddenly lifted his head and looked up at Qing, who was coldly watching from the sky like an outsider. "Little Qing, I'm in trouble. Help me." Qing Zhu was stunned for a moment, then its face turned cold and it sneered, "Shang, you're joking, right? I don't think you like to talk nonsense. Don't you know me?" Shang smiled wryly. "If you help us leave, I'll help you perform a simulation of the heavenly cycle of stars, the pinnacle of martial arts." Qing Zhu's body trembled in shock, but it quickly calmed down and sneered, "Your armillary sphere has been destroyed. How are you going to deduce the stars in the sky?" "It's just a damaged axis, it's not difficult to repair it," Shang said. "Besides, I've also taken quite a bit of your body's profound qi, so it'll be very easy for you to recover. You should also understand how beneficial it is for you to derive the peak of the martial Tao." Shang's words were half true and half false. No one in the realm of heavenly martial arts could repair a damaged holy weapon, but he had said it so casually as if it was not a big deal. Qing Zhu hesitated for a moment. It was very clear that the demon clan's holy artifact, the armillary sphere, was not just a simple offensive, profound artifact. It contained all of the martial arts conception in it. If it was deduced to the extreme, it could even be the secret of the immortal state. "Isn't it up to me to decide whether you can leave or not?" Young Emperor Hulian's indifferent voice sounded. He coldly looked at little Qing and snorted. "The two young ladies have already said that they will take you back. Don't even think about leaving." He didn't have a strong presence, but the atmosphere became heavy as he spoke. Qing's brows furrowed, he was already moved by Shang's words. "Young Emperor Hulian, give me some face and let them go." "How about it?" "Humph, give you face?" Young Emperor Hulian's face was full of disdain, and his gaze gradually turned cold. He stared at little Qing and mocked, "Who do you think you are?" Qing Zhu's expression changed. It was about to get angry, but it held back and said in a deep voice, "I'm a part of the reason why you're able to break through to the martial supreme realm. That's right, if it wasn't for you guiding me all the way into the divine tree's space and the insights I gained along the way, I wouldn't have advanced so easily." However, young Emperor Hulian didn't deny it, but he changed the topic and said coldly, "You want to help me break through, but you don't have good intentions, do you?" Qing's eyelids twitched. "No matter what," she said, "at least I helped you and didn't do you any harm, right?" "Who said that?" young Emperor Hulian sneered. "Aren't you trying to harm me now?" The two of them were at loggerheads, and the atmosphere became more and more intense. Not only the surroundings of the two of them, but even the sky suddenly changed color at this moment, as if it was a sign before a storm. Although both of them had broken through to the martial supreme realm at the same time, they were not ordinary people. Little Qing was a spiritual body and had a strong affinity with the rules of heaven and earth. When it was still a martial honor, it could draw a clone of the Great Void Jade Green Purple Mansion's Brahma Divine Thunder of Destruction. Even so, it was not something that an ordinary martial emperor could take on. Moreover, now that he had advanced to the martial sovereign realm, if he were to condense the Zifu world destroying sacred thunder, the power would be even more unimaginable. On the other hand, young Emperor Hulian's fist intent was unrivaled, and his punch was immortal. Is there any use in saying so much? The fist is the most important thing. Die. Young Emperor Hulian couldn't be bothered to say anything more. His figure flashed, and he appeared in the air. He threw a punch at little Qing's face. The space twisted under the force of the punch and collapsed. Countless forces of gravity pressed down on it. Bang! A small black hole was immediately blasted open on Qing Zhu's face. The hole was filled with endless black void, giving off a chilling feeling. Lightning flickered on his body, and the blasted face immediately recovered. With a gloomy face, he slowly condensed a ball of lightning in his hand. The electric arcs crackled and flashed for hundreds of meters. The color gradually darkened, and the radiation range grew larger and larger. Everything within a few miles was under the pressure of the lightning. Everyone present looked at the lightning and thunder in horror. Not to mention the thunder, just the pressure made them palpitate with fear, and they felt that it was difficult to resist. Xiao Wang Hulian's expression also changed. The might of his emperor qi spread out from his body, repelling the lightning and protecting his subordinates below. His 5 fingers were tightly clenched, and a strange force was constantly flowing around his fist. Once he made a move, it would definitely be heaven-shattering and earth-shattering. Do you think your immortal fist intent can block my world-destroying sacred thunder? Qing Zhu seemed to be extremely unwilling to fight. Even if you can resist the power of the world's destruction and not die, what about your subordinates? Without Emperor's Qi or a 9th-tier profound armament to protect you, you will be annihilated in an instant. Young Emperor Hulian's heart tightened. Little Qing was telling the truth. Looking at the situation in front of them, the divine tree's transformation was even more powerful than they had imagined. However, he still refused to admit defeat and coldly snorted, "What, are you afraid of saying so much nonsense?" "It's not that I'm afraid," said Qing. "You're not my opponent at all. However, once we fight, Sheng and the rest will be annihilated as well, and then there's no point in me fighting you." Humph. Humph. Young Emperor Hulian snorted coldly and stopped talking. He retracted his aura and slowly landed on the ground. His actions had already made his stand clear. He pointed at Qing Zhu and said, "I gave you face, but it wasn't you who helped me. It was you who helped that lord open the path to the stars." Little Qing also knew when to stop. It dispersed the lightning in its hand, and the entire sky immediately returned to its previous brightness. The pressure in everyone's hearts was swept away, but their eyes were filled with fear as they looked at little Qing. Shang smiled. He was finally safe. "Little Qing, are you coming with us?" Qing Zhu looked at him coldly and said, "I don't know when you will be able to repair the armillary sphere. I will come and find you when the time comes." As he spoke, he turned into a bolt of lightning and flew away. It was obvious that he didn't want to stay here any longer. Tang Jie's face revealed a look of disappointment. If he could take little Qing in one fell swoop, it would be a great help. Even if he lost the vermilion bird saber, it would be enough to make up for it. Hai Beifei looked at Shang and the rest and shouted, "Hurry up and get lost. Our leader might change his mind later." Yu snorted and looked at him, then said slowly, "Although young Emperor Hulian isn't an upright gentleman, his words carry enormous weight." Bang! Just as Yu finished speaking, his body was sent flying by Hao Wang's punch, and blood splattered in the air. It was a shocking sight. "I said I'll let you go, but I didn't say I won't beat you up." Young Emperor Hao Lian chuckled. "One more time and I'll cut off your balls." Everyone's expression changed. Looking at Xiao Huang Hao Lian, it seemed like he was capable of anything. Yi's face darkened, and he waved his hand to leave. Yi moved, not forgetting about Yuan Sun in the distance. After being sent flying by his fief, Yuan Sun sprawled on the ground and vomited blood, but he managed to keep his life. "Wait!" Mu Wu suddenly shouted. "The seal on my body." Li looked at him tiredly. She didn't have much energy left in her body. She sent a few spells into Mu Wu's body, but it was as if she had used up all her strength. She couldn't stand still and was supported by Fu. Mu Wu's body glowed with a green light, and soon, a round mark appeared on his chest. As it rotated, it disappeared. Immediately after, a surge of power surged from his dantian, circulating along the qi circulation, nourishing his body in meridians. He suddenly laughed loudly. Tang Jia, on the other hand, carefully walked to the side. There was a touch of red in the grass. What are you doing? Hai Beifei stepped forward to stop him. Tang Jia's face was a little pale as he carefully said, My blade. Whoosh. The red color was the vermilion bird saber. With a wave of Xiao Huang Haolian's hand, the saber landed in his hand. He slashed out a few saber beams in the air, and a look of admiration appeared on his face. It's indeed a good weapon. It seems that you've already refined some of it? Do I have to kill you to erase the mark? His eyes fell on Tang Jia, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Tang Jia's body turned cold, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He did not dare to ask for the saber again, and ran desperately behind Sheng and the others. Soon, only the newbie mercenary group was left in the demon plains. Hai Beifei looked at the vermilion bird saber with great joy and said, Congratulations to Captain for breaking through to the martial supreme realm and obtaining such a divine weapon. The vermilion bird saber is also an extremely famous existence among 9th-tier profound armaments. Young Emperor Haolian smiled indifferently and brandished his knife a few times. He sighed. It's a good saber, but I'm too used to using my fists to use it. He looked at Ding Ling and Luo Yunshan and said, Are the two young ladies interested in playing with a saber? He held the vermilion bird saber in his hand and presented it to the two of them. The members of the newbie mercenary group were all shocked. Even martial emperor powerhouses would fight for a 9th-tier profound artifact until they bled. It was fine if Hao Lian Xiaohuang did not use a saber, but how could he give it away so easily? Ding Ling was about to refuse, but she suddenly had an idea. She took it with a smile, turned into a red light, and put it into her ring. Then I'll have to thank you, Captain. There was no trace of heartache on young Emperor Haolian's face. On the contrary, he was very happy. It's good that young lady likes it. Hai Beifei's face was bitter as he said, Captain, this. Aren't you being a little too generous for the sake of picking up girls? The brothers were all scared witless when they saw that. That's a 9th-tier profound armament. Young Emperor Haolian rolled his eyes at him and said, So what if it's a 9th-tier profound armament? Don't tell me that these two young ladies are not worthy of a 9th-tier profound armament? When the members of the newbie mercenary group heard this, they all had a headache. He had heard that there were people who spent all their wealth to pick up girls, but he had never heard of people giving away 9th-tier profound armaments. If there was such a betrothal gift, even the proud daughters of the 7 great sects would be able to marry him. Captain, Hai Beifei said, now that Shen Xuanjiu is dead and Shen Feng's whereabouts are unknown, it's a good time for us to unify the Gentle Song Woodland. We should immediately return to the city and clear out all the factions. His eyes shone with excitement, and the rest of the members were overjoyed as well. All of them were filled with battle intent. With a martial sovereign in charge, it would be easy to unify the Gentle Song Forest. There's no hurry. There's something I need to do before we go back, young Emperor Haolian said. The killing intent in his eyes gradually condensed, almost tangible. The space around them froze, and all the members of the group felt a slight chill. They looked around in shock, not knowing what young Emperor Haolian was doing. What is it? Hai Beifei could not help but ask. Young Emperor Haolian's gaze was fixed on a certain spot in the sky as he coldly said, when I was breaking through in the boundary of the 9 heavens will, it was impossible to break the boundary with the power of Feng Yi and Shen Xuanjiu. However, someone secretly launched a sneak attack and used a good method. Now it's time to settle the score, right? The space there trembled slightly, and a ripple spread out. Soon, a figure with a bitter face and a look of fear was revealed. Regiment Commander Hao Lian, it's a misunderstanding, it's really a misunderstanding. The man was drenched in cold sweat. He walked down from the sky and said, I originally wanted to give you a hand and sneak attack Feng Yi and the others, but who knew that a freak combination of factors would cause me to be scared silly. Fortunately, the heavens had eyes and did not cause a great disaster. I'm Guduong Yu of the Myriad Treasures store, and I've met your senior brother Hua Qianshu several times. We can be considered as family.